I went on a walk today and I just had so many thoughts going through my head when it came to game planning how to continue to level up my artwork. And I made such a master list for myself that I figured that I would write it down and then share it with you. One of the things I wrote is that when sketching, think about movement, motion, and gesture. When you're first creating that initial sketch, really make sure to add those motion lines in there in order to keep the artwork very alive. That is how you separate yourself from a photo and make it a painting, is by keeping it alive and with a lot of movement in it. And I think that starts from the sketch and by not being too rigid and flat with the drawing process, but really making sure that there is life and motion in there. The next thing that I made a note of for me to continue to work on is when painting my first pass on the artwork, I want to keep my shadows lighter and therefore with more accents, colors in them. So like the brown, the purpley browns, the bluey browns, like a purple gray, whatever it ends up being, a reddish brown, keeping those colors on the lighter side. And then on the very last pass, if I need to, go in with something darker, but kind of I look at a lot of photos, and in a lot of photos, those darks can get really dark, and it doesn't always translate really well onto a painting. And so I'm really looking to remind myself that even when I'm looking at a photograph, to kind of bring those hues up a little bit and narrow that value gap so that it looks very realistic. And there's also a lot more color dimension to it all. So the opposite also goes for my light values. I want to make sure that I keep those lights kind of more in a mid-tone range until the very end. And again, thinking about the color and hue, normally I'm pretty good about adding a lot of color into that, so I'm not as worried about that, but I do want to keep them on the lower side so that on the last pass, I can just add very minimal highlight. I still have a lot of highlight left to use when it comes to that point. Also, kind of a phrase that I'm living by over this next year is a lot of small paintings and a few big ones. And what I mean by that is not spending so much of my time getting bogged down by just big pieces. So it's not just like I get 4 big paintings done a year that just took me all of this time. I want to create less big paintings. I still want to create them, but I want to create more artwork and have more of that turnover for my own learning and actually for my store revenue as well. I'd like to have more of those affordable products available, but it also is better for my learning in the sense where I go from start to finish so much faster. So I'm like learning and working through so many more problems at such a rapid rate that it's helping me improve very quickly. But I do also love having the big paintings, and there is a place for that. I want most of my time to be on that quick turnover and a small amount of the time being used to create those big pieces. Art is one of those things that you never fully master. I think you can work on it for an entire lifetime and still feel like there are areas that you need to improve on, and I love that. It's one of my favorite things about being an artist. It can be hard to know what to do when it comes to leveling up your own work, but it also kind of just comes in time and it comes in waves. There's going to be times when you're 100% confident, you just kind of learned a new skill and had a big step up and motivated and just moving forward. And those are great, but then after a certain amount of time goes by, you're gonna run into another problem, or you're gonna learn something new, or you're gonna see something about your own artwork that like is now a new objective thing that you see in your paintings. And that's just how it goes. There's peaks and troughs, and the peaks usually come after a big period of learning and you feel great, and then you kind of are exposed to more things, you learn more, your eye can analyze your own work a little bit differently. We all do it, and it's like a little stepping stone in order to get to where we want to go. And I feel like I'm kind of in one right now where I had a peak and now I'm learning even more. So I feel like I'm in a trough and I'm about to go into a peak again, just because of everything that I'm learning and analyzing in my own work and wanting to push and improve. So how you level up your own art? Through a lot of practice and repetition. I think it's a matter of going from the start to finish process as quickly and often as possible. And that doesn't mean rush. Don't rush just for the sake of getting it done, but also don't get stuck. If it's not 100% perfect and you can identify why it's not perfect, just move on. I mean, do what you can so that you feel right about the painting, do the best you can, but analyze it and move on, and then try again and just keep doing it. And that rapid turnover honestly makes such a huge difference on your capabilities and the rate at which you learn, because you don't stay stuck for long and you're doing the entire art process rapidly, which for the last year I've been doing a lot of alla primas, and it's made all the difference in the world. I did make a video about doing alla prima if you're interested in kind of learning more about that art form, how to do that. But doing these one-a-day paintings have revolutionized everything with me. With that, I've been able to see things, alter things, adjust things very, very quickly. I've been able to catch bad habits pretty quickly and work on rebuilding on those habits, you know, day by day. That turnover just keeps happening. And so I'm just able to ingrain that into my mind so much faster than if it was a big painting. So I recommend painting small. But then when it comes to my own artwork, these are some of the things that I've just been thinking of over the last week that I really want to focus on for my next level up, that I think are going to make a really big difference when it comes to future artwork that I produce. If you need help analyzing your artwork, there are some things you can do. You can post it on online forums. You can join Patreon groups like Andrew Tischler, where sometimes he will critique certain videos. You can also send it to family or friends. Granted, they more than likely aren't artists, so they may feel differently about some things or give you feedback, critiques that you don't necessarily agree with, or that's not what you're necessarily looking for. But we all have eyes. So even if they're not artists, they still have eyes and can see if something looks correct or not. And in that regards, you'll be able to get pretty immediate feedback on where the hang-ups are in your artwork and where your shortcomings may be when it comes to accurately portraying something. As I said, in my own desire to improve my art, that daily sketch, I'm looking to add it into my own daily routine. I hope you do too, because it is that important. There's a reason the masters used to do it. There's a reason Andrew Tischler does it. And it's because it is so great in teaching you how to understand materials. But really, I think the biggest thing to improve your art is just doing and analyzing and repeating as often as possible. And then when it comes to myself, I have these things that I listed that I specifically want to focus on when it comes to improving my own artwork. I'm so happy to announce that this painting has sold, which is pretty cool. That was an exciting thing to wake up to. I popped on here because we got our new brushes. I just recently released a video about my brush epiphany. Actually, it has to do with this painting as well. This is the painting that inspired that epiphany. I'll link it right here. It's a pretty cool video in the sense that it definitely was enlightening for me, and I think it can provide some good insight for you as well. Nevertheless, my brush epiphany led to me buying new brushes. And they're here, and I'm so excited. From none other than our favorite brush company, Rosemary Co. This isn't sponsored by them, but I do have a link with them because I have created my own brush pack through them. It is a collection of all my favorite brushes, all the brushes that I have bought from them. I do take off the ones that I end up not liking that much. So it's very up to date and very accurate as far as what I'm actually using. Nevertheless, let's take a look at these cuties. Oh, I'm so excited. I've been waiting. Okay, for the first grouping, I got a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch Eclipse comber and a 3 short flat red dot. All of these are oil painting brushes, and the short flat was because I apparently have discovered that I am in love with the feeling of flats, and short flats specifically. I don't like necessarily the flex of the long ones, but the short ones feel really good. The Eclipse combers I have never heard of before, and I have never tried one. However, I am so excited. Let's see if I can show you this. So that's the short flat. And then this is the comber. If you can see on those bristles, they have this like tapered edge to them. And the reason is because they leave this like imperfect brushwork. And I'm so curious to try that. I tend to potentially run the risk of being on the perfectionist side. And I think this will kind of add a little bit of spontaneity and imperfection to my brush strokes that will be really cool. So I'm really excited to see how these feel, especially when it comes to animal fur. I've noticed that I like a certain feel to brushes too. I know a lot of people like stiff brushes, but I kind of like the soft ones, and these are soft. Anyways, those are the first 3. I'll try not to spend 10 minutes talking about each brush. So then the second batch that came isn't gonna take as long to talk about because it's all kind of the same. But the reason I bought these was because of the bigger size. In doing a bunch of these Alla Prima 9x12s, I've found 2 brushes that I absolutely adore that just can basically do everything that I want. It feels good. I feel confident with them. And so my goal was to find that, but bigger, so that I could cover the same amount of canvas on a big scale. The small ones that I'm obsessed with is just a basic short flat and a basic round. So simple, I know. But nevertheless, I did a whole bunch of research, again, kind of based off of just little experiments I did with different kinds of brushes. So in this grouping, which is, oh, it doesn't say which one. I think this is an Eclipse as well. So this is the Eclipse, just the short flat version and the round version in a bigger size so that it can accommodate big paintings. Also long handle so that you can sit back from your big paintings. Bear with me, this was like a big order. I got a little excited. So with the same thing in mind, I basically got a set of, let me just make sure. It doesn't say on it, but these are definitely short flats and rounds. They're Gold Series brushes, which apparently are like a mid-range. Oh, these feel really good. So when I bought these, what I specifically had in mind was I was going for the same texture brushes that of kind of the softer, flexier brushes that have a bit of a stiff base and a flexible tip. That might not make any sense to you, but I know what it feels like. And thankfully, Rosemary Co, when you go through their website, they have a description of each of their brushes of kind of what each one's firmness and feel is kind of like. And so when I was reading through all the descriptions, I came across the Golden Series and I was like, interesting, that sounds just like those, the cheaper brushes that I have. These aren't cheap by any means. They're made such high quality. The small ones that I have are the cheap versions of them, and I love them. So I was like, well, I'll try to get a really nice series. So anyways, I also got a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch in the comber as well. That's that. I got a 10 and an 8 short flat. I got a 9 and an 8 round. And I got, oh, that should have gone with the flats, and a 6 flat. Here's the lineup. These are all long handle. These are all short handles. The reason I got some short handle brushes as well was because I knew that if I really liked the feel of them, I wanted to be able to take it plein air with me, plein air painting. So I got these so that they can fit in my push-out box. But the rest I got long handle because I'm in the studio 98% of the time. And I knew that I wanted these for bigger canvases. I have not used these yet. When I do use them, I will kind of let you know how they feel, how they hold up to everything. And if I don't like them, I'll take them off my brush list, but I'm excited. Just touching them, they feel the same as the brushes that I was going for, which is really exciting. It's cool to kind of feel like I've painted enough that I have a preference on the type of brush that I paint with and the type of surface that I paint with. It's all coming together. I'm growing up as an artist, which is so cool. But as I was saying, I will let you guys know how I like these. I'm sure I'm gonna love them. I have a really good feeling about them, but if I don't, I'll let you know, and I will also take them off of my Rosemary Co brush list, so you don't have to buy them. But with that, I'm ready to start painting. I want to use them.